Hi everyone, this is Sagar Shah and I'm back after my short break and we are going to cover the Dubai Open 2022. While I was away, some amazing things happened. Arjun became India number 2. He beat Wang Hao. He beat Anton Guyaro. He won the Abu Dhabi Masters. I'm going to cover that in a separate video later on. For now, let's switch our attention to the next tournament in UAE after the Abu Dhabi Masters, and that is the Dubai Open. Now, Dubai Open is a very long standing tournament. It's been going on for many years, and this year it's very exciting because we have the young Indian talents playing there. Arjun. We also have Pragg, who traveled from Miami to Dubai. He played in the FTX Crypto Cup where he beat Magnus Carlsen. Now, when you have played so well against the world class players, everyone's expecting you to do well. And here you are fighting against 2600 GMs who are not at all weak, like Aram Hakobyan, Praggnanandhaa's opponent, very talented Armenian GM, 2612. And you have to be very careful because even draws, of course, loss would mean lot of rating loss, but even draws would mean that you would bleed rating points. And so for now, Praggnanandhaa is on 100% score and he's reached a very high elo. We'll talk about it after the end of the game, but let's focus on the game. It begins with Pragg having the white pieces and opening the game with 1 e4. Aram plays the Sicilian, and soon we have the Sicilian Najdorf on the board. The open Sicilian, knight f6, knight c3, and Najdorf. So here, as you know, there are many options that white can play. White can go bishop e3, bishop d3, bishop c4, bishop g5. There's so many, it's a lot. Pragg goes for the h3 move, and this is the idea is to go g4, and it was also one of Bobby Fischer's weapon. Here the main move, and I think the best move perhaps, is e5 in the position. There's also second most popular move e6, but Aram goes for g6, and Pragg says, well, I'm going to go ahead with my plan, g4, bishop g7, and now before he goes bishop g2, he decides to defend his knight on d4. Castles, and now comes bishop to g2, knight to c6, queen d2, and knight to d7 was played. Here, actually, black could have gone for something maybe slightly better than this, knight d7. He could have taken, and played b5, which is sort of getting ready to play bishop b7 here. And I think this would have been a better way to play. The main point being that if you try to play e5 here to attack this rook, it generally does not work because your king is in the center, and also black has a very nice move here, which is, yes, to take on e5. And now you can't take the rook because you will lose your bishop, and you have already lost a pawn and a piece, and the knight is attacked, and it's going to be very bad for you. And if you do spend time taking this pawn, then after takes, already the rook is not can be moved away, and black is better. So this would have been a better way to play for black, but black went knight d7. And now your first question for this game, what do you play here as white to play? So I like Praggnanandhaa's next move very much. In fact, there are not too many options. One of them is to short castle. The other is to long castle. If you short castle, it's not a bad move, but it helps black do what he wanted to. Like, for example, there's this very nice concept here, take, queen takes, and now black can go b5, which is one move that he wants to play, bishop b7, and so on. There's also another interesting move which I just want to point it out there. When you play such a position and when this square is weak, there is one move which you can make which sort of latches onto it, and that is g5. And you want to put your knight here later on, maybe control the dark squares and so on. It's just an idea to remember. It's already happened before in the game between Andrisian and Fedosiev. Okay, so the right move here, and full marks if you found the move long castle, because now Pragg is telling his opponent that I am going all out against you with h4, h5, and this is going to be quite dangerous for you. Knight to b6 played here, by his opponent. And I think once again, Aram should have thought of taking, and playing b5. But this time it would have been slightly slower. h4, h5 is in the air, and it can get a little dangerous here. This could have been a better wave though. Knight b6 played, and now your move here. What should white play? It's always a tricky situation when the knight is coming to c4. You do not know, you don't want to give up your bishop there. And so the right move here, there are two good moves and both get full marks if you found them. First is b3, stopping knight c4. If you played this, yes, it weakens your position a bit, but it's very important to stop knight c4. And the second move is bishop f1, stopping knight c4. And I think this is a very cool move. Full points for this as well. And this is what Pragg played. bd7, knight takes c6, b takes c6, played in the position. And now next question for you, what should white play here? So this is a very important moment of the game, and already it seems like white has a nice position. Even black seems to be doing quite well. He wants to attack with rook b8, and then combined with this bishop, he wants to launch an attack. And so if you think a bit, you'll realize that this is the key bishop, and I need to exchange it with bishop h6. So if you found this move, fantastic, a good move by Pragg. If you take, I think it's already very difficult with h4, h5 coming up. It's a huge attack that is building up. So Aram decided to go very practical, and this is a good concept to remember. He went bishop h8, and what he's essentially telling Pragg is that my bishop over here, which is looking at this diagonal, is even more important than a full rook, than a rook basically. And Pragg takes, and Aram is like, yes, I understand I'm an exchange down, complete exchange down. I don't even have a pawn. But look, this bishop is great. I will put my rook here. I'll maybe get my queen in, and I will have good compensation. That's his contention here. But Pragg goes f4, rook b8, black is building up, and now Pragg went queen e3. g5, very interesting move by Aram, and actually it's a very fighting move. He could have just gone on calmly, bishop g7, maybe later on think of some breaks with e5 or maybe e6, d5, some ideas there, but he went g5 and he's fighting for the dark squares. If you were to take here, then he would be very happy because first he gets his bishop here, then the other bishop here, then his queen could join in. So it's a very interesting positional sacrifice. Pragg goes f5 here. And now Pragg is threatening to take the pawn here. And also his idea is to push forward with h4. So bishop f6 was played. Pragg goes h4. Nonetheless, he's like, if you take, I'll push. Queen g7. And now for the next point, what should you play here as white to move? I think a very important move in the game. It seems like the game has sort of boiled up completely. There's also an idea here for black now, which is to take and then blockade on the dark squares, h6, and then he would be really well placed on dark squares. Also, there's a lot of pressure that is coming onto the b2 point. So what did Pragg do? e5. What a move here. Amazing move. I mean, if you found this amazing, and this is the only move in the position, because let's say if you take de here, then just look at this bishop, its future is gone. Also g5 is hanging now, it's just over. And if you were to play like something like h6, there are many ways to continue such a position, but just a simple move like maybe bishop d3, and white is going to just double on the h file, and black has no counterplay. So he took with the bishop, but now Pragg manages to exchange the queens, and with his extra material is better. Knight d5, takes. Now what Aram says here is that, look, I understand that my strategy has not worked, but if I'm putting pressure here, And if you were to take, then I will take this pawn on b2. But Pragg does not believe in this and he takes it, which is very important, because if you were to play a move like rook d3, then after takes, already this turns into a very dangerous situation here. You know, rook b2, black has a lot of counterplay. So king g7, knight d5 played, good move. Check, intermediate move, king here takes, and now Pragg finds this very nice. You want to play rook b1 and sort of pin this, but it allows bishop c3 check and you lose the rook there. So that's the reason why bishop a6, connecting the rooks first. Rook a8, rook b1, bishop d4, bishop d3, and now he played the move e5 here. He could have taken the pawn, but white's response would have been same, like if he would have taken rook takes a2. Still, white to play, what do you do here? Yes, rooks belong on the 7th heaven, rook to b7. Fantastic move by Pragg. Bishop c8, and now for the very accurate penultimate point in the game, what should white do here? If you decided to move your rook away, it's not at all bad, it's playable, but you know, you have this opportunity to push in a move, and that is f6, and Pragg played it. It is an amazing move, because if you take on f6, there is rook f1 check, and then with both the rooks combined, it is disaster. And when he went king f8, what transpired now is that this king is completely locked up. Also, the h7 pawn is weak. So Pragg went rook b4. Notice that you do not have the time to take here because of bishop h7. White then gets this h passer. So he went bishop c5, and now a very pragmatic move by Pragg. He goes rook hb1. He says, take my exchange, I don't care. The main point here that Pragg makes is that you have no real active play. Your h pawn is weak. Your rook cannot get activated because I'll go rook b8, and your bishop here, even if you move your bishop, there is a mating net. So too many issues, and all of this works because of this move f6. h6 played, bishop b5, rook b8. Once again, if you were to take here, bishop c6 ends the game because of rook b8. You can't stop it with rook a8. Bishop controls that square. So rook b8, a3, bishop takes g4, and I think this is where Pragg had already prepared his next idea, which was like, okay, if you don't go into the rook endgame here because that is drawish, but you go into the bishop endgame. And I think it's these little clarity that Pragg has for his moves which makes it so easy. Firstly, he's attacking the rook, then the bishop, so you must take the rook. There's no other option. You take. And now look at this. The pawn stops the king from coming up. The bishop stops the king from coming there. This pawn is running down the board, and even though the number of pawns on the board are in black's favor, count the pawns. Black has 5, white has 4. The quality of the pawns is what matters. King g8. Now, first bishop e8, stopping the king from moving because you lose this pawn. d4 was played by him. b5, pawn pushing forward. h5. And now the bishop comes here ready to push forward. King h7, and Pragg being very, very precise. Check. Don't let the king come up. King h6, bishop, king d3, bishop e6, b6, bishop c8. And I think this is now a moment of good technique, because very natural is to push and win the bishop, but after king g6 you lose the f6 pawn and you have to still fight. I mean, it's winning for white. But look at this. He goes king c4, no counterplay. This is what I love. Check, king d5. Very nice move. Check. And now, yes, you lose the bishop, but it's all calculated. King e5. And now with these pawns, you can see how black king is boxed in, and the white pawns are ready to proceed. So d3 was played, but okay, just a variation. Bishop b7 I can take, king e5, and then c4, c5, king d6, king c7, white wins. So king e5, d3, c takes d3, bishop b7, and d4. And before you knew it, Aram had to resign because d5, d6, d7 is coming. His king cannot participate, and that was a very, very clean win for Praggnanandhaa. Let's have a look. By the way, this is the picture from the Abu Dhabi Chess Club. We have Rupali there who's taking these pictures. And also, here is the standings of the tournament. Pragg is leading along with the Kazakh top GM Rinat Jumabayev. It's going to be Pragg versus Rinat today. And it will be an exciting game. Arjun is on 3.5. So is Sethu Raman. Ayush Sharma playing very well, also on 3.5. And we have the current live rating of Pragg, which has reached 2685. Praggnanandhaa really on fire, and these are his rating gains. He has gained 15 elo points at the Olympiad, where he performed really well to get the bronze medal on board number 3. And now with 4 out of 4, he's already gained 9.8 elo points here and beat Hakobyan. So if Pragg continues this form in the remaining 5 rounds, he might well get close to 2700 as well. With already Gukesh having crossed that barrier, Arjun, I think it's now time for Pragg, and he is on fire. For now, this is Sagar Shah signing off. Hope you enjoyed the analysis. Bye bye.